It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Oh, dude, you know what? Let me just say, Superman had a heart on this challenge. It was great, but Graham really was a tough competitor. But what an awesome challenge, what an awesome road it has been. Well done, Graham, man. Proud of you. Next up, though, we're talking about school enrollments, and we're asking you the question, have you recently enrolled your child in a school? Because parents who have already gone through the whole rigmarole advise others to start the process of school selection and application long before their children reach school-going age. Now, a Johannesburg mother, Philani Jooste, was one of many parents who had to go through quite an ordeal in April to get their children into a school in their very own neighborhood. Let's check out the story.
Enrolling your child at the school of your choice has become a grueling process, whether it's a private or public institution. Parents go to great lengths to ensure their children's admission to schools with good reputations, and Johannesburg mom Philani Jooste experienced this with her youngest son.
I recently applied to a local school to get a place for my youngest son in grade R. The process itself was quite uncomplicated. You get a form from the school once the department opens the application process. The process of getting the application submitted itself was quite cumbersome. I started queuing about 3 o'clock in the afternoon the day before they would actually accept applications. And we spent the entire night on the pavement and had to sleep on the pavement and stay in the queue. We started researching possible schools when our oldest child was about a year old. And we then realized, because we wanted to put our children into a public school, that we would have to move to the relevant area. We wanted to enroll our children into the specific school because it's one of the department's flagship schools, so it is a really good school academically and sport-wise. They only have classes from grade R to 3, so the total number of children in the school are just over 300. They only have 50 places every year, and these are assigned on a first-come, first-served basis.
In April this year, pavements were packed outside Johannesburg's popular secondary schools like Fourways High School, where parents queued for up to 36 hours to ensure their child's place, a problem that's growing each year.
It is the school of choice, and parents are willing to go to the extreme in order to do whatever it needs to take to get their child enrolled. This is not only unique to Fourways High, it has occurred even in primary schools, so I don't think it's unique to only Fourways High. I think a lot of parents also camped out for their kids at other schools.
Although the demand for places at good schools is on the rise, there is a practical and logical solution.
I would certainly advise parents to be part of the solution, and to rather, if they can't live in the catchment area of their ideal school, to try and be part of the parent community who actually works together with schools and with the school management teams to make their local school the best possible school. One of the reasons why the schools in Parkview are so absolutely amazing and in demand is because the parents are extremely involved and they work with the teachers and the school management teams to keep the standards really high.
The advice I can give to parents is register early if you're doing for private schools already from a date of birth. If you are going to do the government schools, ensure that you can register online, which gives you a pre-reference number. Unfortunately, you still have to ensure that you fill the relevant application forms for the school of choice that you want to take. And look at more than one school for registration. You may be pleasantly surprised that the school that you have ignored is just around the corner from where you live.
While parents may jostle for position at popular schools, the key to a good education is an environment where a child is motivated and supported in learning.
Well, there you go, a topic that I think a lot of parents are talking about at the moment. But to shed some light on this topic and also the importance of finding the right school for your children, we have Executive Head of Kuro Brackenfell joining us today, Mr. Henk Weyer. Henk, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, man, let me, you know, after watching that video, I mean, I'm a parent myself. My boy is turning 3 in October. It is a stress for parents thinking about where to send your kid to school. Why do parents have to go through the extremes nowadays to just make sure that you can get your child into a school?
Yeah. Well, basically it's supply and demand. We have more learners interested in going to school. Unfortunately, there's been no new schools built in middle-class areas. 20% of the national budget is allocated towards education, of which the majority is being used for staff salaries or repairs and maintenance of schools in previously disadvantaged areas. So as the demand increases and exceeds the supply, you will have that issue with spaces in schools. And you're looking also at the amount of kids. In private education in 2007, we were looking at 2%. Now we're looking at 5%. So the amount of people coming in is a little bit higher. So the pressure on those schools are becoming more, which is a good thing for people looking for private education because there are options.
Now, I know that there's different enrollment methods when it comes to your private schools and your state schools. Focusing on the state schools at the moment, where do we see this problem more? Is it at the primary school level or more at high school level?
Well, it's a little bit of both. In primary, managing a high pupil to staff ratio is more difficult in the foundation phase. They need more individualized attention, they need more time to grasp certain concepts, so they need more guidance. In high school, it's a little bit less because you've got the attrition rate from grade 10 upwards where legally you don't have to be in school. So you've got less pupils but a higher workload, so there's a lot more pressure as well. So it's in both areas, it's kind of the same.
And when it comes to your private schools, I mean, do we face the same kind of issue or is it not as bad?
Well, like I said, as the demand increases, you see that in private schools as well.
Okay.
So grade R and grade 1, we have schools with waiting lists already. And as I mentioned, the number of pupils going to private schools are increasing from 2007, 2% to now over 5%. And that's going to continue growing as schools struggle to maintain those ratios and provide the services and the great facilities and the opportunities for learners.
Now, like I mentioned, it is rather stressful for parents to think about this topic, to think about, where to send my kid, what is the right school. What advice could you give to our parents out there thinking about enrolling their children into schools? How should they approach it to not have to go through these extremes?
Well, the first thing is know your child. Know what makes them tick. So if your child is more into sports or more into arts and drama and culture, find a school that caters for those needs because a happy child learns faster. But then you've got to decide, at the core, it always has to be fantastic academic implementation of the curriculum. So you've got to look at what school can offer you the academics, but also what triggers your child. And then you've got to look at facilities, availability of extracurricular activities, because if you're not exposed to certain things, you'll never know if you're really brilliant at that. So if your child could be the next Roger Federer, if they don't have the opportunity to play tennis, you'll never know.
All right, Mr. Hing, thank you so much for joining us this morning, giving us some advice. So ultimately, you're saying for parents, do your research. Don't wait till last minute.
If you buy a car, you Google, you go onto the internet, you go and test drive your car. It's funny that a lot of parents, they go to a school because they like the uniform or they've seen them play rugby. So you've got to stalk them on Facebook, look at their websites, go visit the school, go to open day, speak to parents who are there now, but then speak to the kids as well. Find out if they're enjoying the school. Speak to the teachers, see if they love what they're doing, if they're passionate about teaching.
All right.
And then you look at the facilities and all the added extras.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was Mr. Henk Weyers. He's the executive head at Kiro Brackenfeld, talking about school enrollments this morning. Very, very important. So I think as parents, go out and do your research well in advance. Right now, let's quickly find out what's still ahead on your Feel Good Breakfast Show.